The Houston Texans are a team who decided to trade up for two very solid players in this year's draft. They got CJ Stroud and Will Anderson. So in my opinion, they could be a sleeper team for this upcoming year, but let's make them a Super Bowl winning team. So today we're going to rebuild them. And before I get this rebuild going, I just want to say thank you for clicking on this video, and please make sure to drop a sub. Only 1% of the people who watch my videos are subscribed. So if you could subscribe, that would help me out a ton. So I'm going to set a sub goal for this video. If we can gain 6 subs on this video and gain 10 likes, that would be amazing. So let's get into this rebuild. Like I was saying before, there are a couple good players on this team. You have CJ Stroud, Dameon Pierce, Robert Woods, Laramie Tunsil, Kenyon Green, and Dalton Schultz that they added in free agency in the draft. And then you have some players like, on defense you have Will Anderson, Desmond King, Shaq Griffin, and Derek Stingley Jr., and John Petrie. If I'm saying that correctly, I may be an idiot. Jalen Petrie. I knew I was saying that wrong. My bad. But we have Jalen Petrie on defense. Their defense is looking solid. It's not, terrible. I think it could be better, but that's our job to make it better. So the first season is kind of just simming through because nothing's really going to be happening in the first season. So I'll meet you guys at mid-season mark to see what's going on. For the first half of the season, the Texans are 5-1, which is really surprising because of what the roster is. But I'm also kind of excited because that means we have good enough players to win a Super Bowl now. But you guys know how Madden is and how they like to mess things up. So maybe this next half of the season is going to be worse. But so far we're doing good, so I'll see you at the end of the offseason. So in the first season, the Texans go 11-6. Which, like I said before, is surprising. We do win our division and make the wild card round, but we're going to advance through this to see if we can beat the Dolphins. And we don't, which it's expected. So we're going to get into the offseason and see who we need to re-sign and all of that. Here are the stats for the first season of CJ Stroud. He threw for almost 5,000 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. Dameon Pierce had 850 yards and 16 touchdowns. In receiving, Robert Woods and Nico Collins had over 1,000 yards, and Dalton Schultz was close behind with almost 1,000. And for defense, it didn't look that great, but Will Anderson did put up big numbers, having 19 sacks, and Jerry Hughes Jr. having 16. And then other than that, it wasn't really anything impressive from this team. I didn't expect it would be. They had a really good season, but I'm hoping we can build on that. And let's see if any of our guys won any yearly awards. I'm going to assume no one won MVP. The Texans are in the AFC tie. And I'm just going to skip to the Defensive Rookie of the Year, which Will Anderson did win any Offensive Rookie of the Years. CJ Stroud won Offensive Rookie of the Year. So that's really good for us. Most likely means that CJ Stroud is going to end up being a superstar X Factor. I did turn off regression because I know in my last rebuild there was a lot of regression that happened to players who shouldn't be regressing. So I made sure to turn it off this time. But if you look at it, he didn't go up, which kind of sucks. But at the same time, I think it's okay. So I'll see you guys at free agency. It looks like in free agency there's Michael Thomas and Tony Pollard and a couple other guys that look interested in us. Nothing really crazy that catches my eye. Ethan Pochich is a guy who I'd want. I'll do player friendly. He kind of wants to be here, so we're going to give him a player friendly deal. We are leading on him. I had to let Desmond King go. I know I couldn't show you guys that. There wasn't really anything important in our re-signings other than that. But I think that's all that's going to be happening in this free agency. Most of it is players that have already signed deals in real life. So that's why we're not really going to do that. So I'll see you guys at the start of the draft. So here in the draft, there are a couple players that I want to look at. Obviously, I want to try to get some wide receivers for CJ Stroud, and I also kind of want to build up our linebacking core and safeties. So I'm looking, I have some favorite guys who I've, scouted and all that. This guy's the best player in the draft. He looks like a really good player in general. It's going to be hard to get him. I would have to trade up for him, but I think it'd be worth it. I think he's one of those generational type guys. So I'm going to go ahead and try to trade up. We're at pick 11. I know the Texans have draft capital, which is not an issue compared to what it was when I did the Carolina Panther rebuild, because they had no draft capital. So it's a little bit of a different story here. We can kind of move around the board the way I want to. We're going to see if we can get their first round pick for pennies on the dollar. That would be really nice. I'm going to see if a 5th round pick will do it. I know that was kind of low ball, but if I can, get it for a cheap deal, that'd be really good. They don't want to do that. I think I might be able to give them the 5th and the 3rd and get it. And they don't want to take that. I don't want to give them a 2nd. I really don't want to give them... What if I gave them 2/3 for it?
Ladies and gentlemen,
and if we do have a done deal, if it's a generational talent like I think it is, we're going to have no issue making that trade. No one's going to think twice about it if he becomes the player that I think he'll become. I think he's going to be our next DeAndre Hopkins in the Texans area. Yeah, I mean, he's 6'3", 92 speed. He's already really good just physical-wise. But other than that, I mean, I think he's going to be a really solid player. So let's take a look at what we can do on cornerbacks. I know we have a young guy and a vet, but I'm thinking Brandon Meekins is a good selection for this. And I think I'm going to go him. We got our center and what we needed with Ethan Pochich. So we're going to just sim to the rest of our picks. I'm going to, tell you why I'm taking this player, what I saw in them when I was doing the scouting. If in next videos you want to see me actually do my scouting, let me know. But for right now, I feel like it's kind of boring for people to watch me just scout players all the time. A lot of my players are gone in this, but I am going to take him. He was a very solid looking guy, and also our offensive line needs to be good for CJ Stroud. If I can get that tight end, we can get a good tight end core going. We can kind of be like the Ravens where they, do 2 tight end sets and stuff. I know it's kind of hard to do that in Madden, but it's something that I think every team should try to do. Bobby Kendricks is superstar development, or not superstar, hidden development. But it would be really nice to get a guy who's superstar. So let me see if the last guy here, Richard Tompkins, is here. We are going to take him with our last pick in the draft. He isn't hidden dev, but what I saw in him was speed, and that's about it. So we're just going to sim to that, and I'll show you the roster after it's done. Looking at our draft recap, I do think we got one of the best players in the draft. At 80 overall, I think he is one of those generational type talents. And then we got a 75 overall corner, 74 overall left guard, 74 overall tight end, and a 75 overall wide receiver later down on the board. And then I let the CPU draft the rest. They didn't really do that great of a job, but what can you expect? So I'm going to rearrange the roster and show you what we have when we're done. So this is what our offense is going to look like. I'm going to have, obviously, CJ Stroud in the middle. And then I'm going to put our tight end that we drafted at fullback. Dameon Pierce is going to play running back. It's going to be Robert Woods and Spriggs there. Tompkins is probably going to play the slot. I did move Shaq Mason to right tackle and to have our rookie play a guard position like he should be. And then defensively, we didn't really do that many upgrades on defense. We did get Meekins, and I realized we do have Derek Stingley. So I was thinking I'm going to try to trade away some of our cornerbacks that we have to try to get a edge player that we can use And I'm also thinking about getting rid of Davis Mills. I'm going to try to find a team that actually needs him in real life. The Commanders would be a team that would actually want him. And there is rumors that they're trading away Chase Young. So I'm thinking that might be something that we could try to get done. It's not that likely in this rebuild for it to get done. I'm seeing what we can kind of trade for him. I think I'm going to bundle him with 2 corners. Basically just throwing tons and tons of stuff at a team to see if we can get them to bite on something. Because I know from at least me, we need an edge. And I know the Eagles have a ton of edge players. They have Brandon Graham. I'm looking for someone who's a little younger. They have a ton of that. Let's go with Josh Sweat off the edge. That's very close to getting it done. I think if I could throw in a second for next draft, I think that's going to get it done. And it does get it done. We do get an edge for those guys. That may not have been the smartest. We probably could have gotten a little bit better off of that. But for right now, we needed to get that done because it's time for the younger corners to step up. I want to keep Shaquille on the team for corner. And I'm trying to see if we can get a middle linebacker to kind of run the middle of this team. There isn't really a good guy right now that I've seen. Leighton Vander Esch should probably be really good. Let's get him. You just throw a 5th in there, and that'll be easily get him. So after that, after those couple trades, I feel like this team is in a better spot right now, especially because he goes up for being on this team. I guess knowing that we want him makes him happy or something. So let's sim to the midseason mark of this season and see where we're at. At the midway point of season number 2, we are 2-5, which is way worse than we were last season. I think we were 5-2, but that's okay because you never know. We could have a better second half of the year, like we had a worst half of last year. So first, let's take a look to see what players want to negotiate with us to stay on the team and who doesn't want to be here. Laramie Tunsil, that's a big keep. We kicker in free agency. Jonathan Grin, no. Noah Brown, no. None of these guys are looking like I'm going to keep any of them. So let's do a little bit of work here and get the players that we really need on the team. We're going to do a very player-friendly. Actually, we're just going to go player-friendly for Laramie Tunsil, and he's happy to be here. I'm glad you are because no one wanted to draft you after the face mask incident, if you know what I'm talking about, but that's not that big of a deal. Let's try to keep Titus Howard. I like keeping O-line around, depth in O-line. I know there's no, I turn off injuries in these, but I know it's still nice to have depth. So let's sim to the end of this year and see where we're at. And at the end of year number 2, we have an 8-9 record and did not make the playoffs. But let's see how our team did and where we went wrong and what we can change. CJ Stroud had another almost 5,000 yard season with 41 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. And Dameon Pierce almost hit 1,000 yards again and had 15 touchdowns. And Robert Woods had 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. Dalton Schultz had 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. And Richard Tompkins had 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. And our crazy good player that I thought we had, Michael Spriggs, only had 900 yards and 9 touchdowns, which is still a very solid rookie season, but not as good as Richard Tompkins. Defensive-wise, Leighton Vander Esch led the team in tackling. And Will Anderson had 18 sacks, and Josh Sweat had 15, so he was a very good addition to this team. And Leighton Vander Esch no one got above 1 interception, which is kind of sad, which is probably why we didn't win that many games. But still, it was a decent season for a team that's not expected to win a lot. So I'm going to upgrade the players, and we're going to go to player re-signings. In year number 2, Lamar Jackson won MVP, and there were no Texans on there. For Offensive Player of the Year, still no Texans. Defensive Player of the Year, Will Anderson got 2nd, and Josh Sweat got 7th. For Offensive Rookie of the Year, Richard Tompkins got 1st and won it, which is very good for us. Spriggs got 4th. For Defensive Rookie of the Year, there were one Texan, Brandon Meekins, at 8. Still good for us. I hope they get some upgrades. But let's go see who we need to re-sign, and then we'll jump into free agency and try to build an even better team. So let's see. Players ready to negotiate. There's 14, if I remember correctly. Some of them aren't that big of a deal. We don't need a kicker. We can get him in free agency. Jonathan Grenard, if he'll take this deal, then we'll keep him. He wants to be here. That's good. Noah Brown, will let him walk. Punter, let him walk. Chase Winovich, will let him walk right out. If I think no, all these guys can walk. All those guys can walk. That's not a big deal. So I'll see you guys in free agency. So in free agency, I think we want to become big spenders, and I think our first big spend that I want to have is going for Dexter Lawrence. He's a very, very good defensive tackle for the Giants right now, I think. I could be completely wrong. He wants more money. I think it's worth it to give it to him. We can have a really dominant pass rush with the 2 guys that we have right now. So we're going to see if that can help us get him. We're leading right now. And Mike Evans might be a very solid pickup just to have for 1 year. I don't know how many teams are going to try to get him. So we'll offer him that real quick. He looks a little bit more gettable than I expected. So we're winning on him right now. Let's see. Logan Wilson, I know I got him in the Panthers rebuild, but he is there, and he is a decent player for what it's worth. And it just doesn't seem like any other player wants to be here. Marcus Peters would be a very solid pickup for this team. Let's see if we can give him a 5-year deal, or $5 million deal for 1 year. See if he wants to take that. And I don't know if there's anything else in free agency that is really worth taking. I know we do need a punter and a kicker, so I'm gonna see if I can sign 2 guys out of here. And then we will see where we're at the end of this, because I know we need a right outside linebacker and a left outside linebacker. We do need a backup quarterback, someone with a tag, like a mentor tag. I would say Andy Dalton would be a really good pickup for that. If it let me click on Andy Dalton. It's not letting me click on Andy Dalton, so I guess I have to go back in the free agency to try to sign a quarterback to help my quarterback. That makes sense. It still won't let me click him. It won't let me click anyone down here. Oh, it's because I have too many active negotiations. Well, let's see. My signings. Marcus Peters and Matt Gay all came here. Dexter Lawrence went to the Titans. Mike Evans still is deciding. So let's see if there's any other defensive tackles out here that would want to come to the Texans. Let's see if we can get Fletcher Cox to come here. That would be a big signing for us. We are winning it, but that doesn't mean much in this game. Romeo Aquara is still here. Let's throw in a bid for him, see if we can even snag him. Some of these positions we will have to fill in the draft, but I mean, he's still here. No one went for him, so I'll snag him. So my signings: Logan Wilson, Marcus Peters, Fletcher Cox, and Matt Gay. So that's a very solid free agency for us. I'd say that boosted our chances of winning a ton. So I'll see you guys in the draft. So in the draft, we have the 13th overall pick. After doing some scouting, I didn't really see anyone that I was like needed. So I'm thinking for our first pick, we try to go with a defensive tackle to take over the role of Fletcher Cox when he, inevitably retires. This guy has looked really solid, and so I think he's the best choice for here. He's only normal dev, which really sucks for us, but it is what it is. Sometimes you just don't hit on a pick. I'm thinking maybe for this next pick, the Houston Texans. I really don't know what we need. We covered a lot of our bases in free agency. So I'm thinking we go with more of a pick that is a little bit unprecedented at this time. I think we go with another corner if he's still there. I was looking at him. He looked really good. And I don't think he is here anymore. I don't know why I'm scrolling that far down. He wouldn't be there. There was also a free safety that I was looking at, Jaquan Burgess. He is here, so we will take him. I forgot to put these guys in my favorites. I do write them down, though, on a little sticky note in front of me. We don't have that many other picks, so I'm just going to let the CPU do it, and I'll show you what the team looks like after I'm done. So after the NFL draft, this is kind of what our team is looking like. We did fill a lot of holes in free agency, but CJ Stroud did go up to Superstar X Factor. We got Mike Evans in free agency, and our receivers that we got kind of stepped up big time. Our offensive line still is the same. Dalton Schultz and Kendricks have Superstar. Will Anderson does have Superstar X Factor. Fletcher Cox, Josh Sweat, and our defensive line is looking really good. Our corners are also looking really solid, and we have depth in that position. I'm going to start Burgess over Petrie just because Burgess has a better chance of becoming a superstar than Petrie is. And Logan Wilson, Leighton Vander Esch, and Henry Toa 222, whatever, however you say his name. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but I really don't know how to say that. Are our linebackers. So it's a very solid team. So we're going to sim to the midseason mark and see where we're at. So at the midseason mark of this season, we're doing a little bit better than we were last year. We are 4-3. We're not completely losing our division, but we're going to take a look at what players want to negotiate and where we can move from there. Josh Sweat wants to negotiate. Dalton Schultz does as well. Devin Singletary, Shaq Mason, Marcus Peters, Robert Woods, Shaquille Griffin. It looks like there's a couple people that want to negotiate, but our biggest thing is getting Josh Sweat to stay. He's a big part of our defense, and he's going to stay with a very player-friendly deal. Sorry, I can't speak. And Dalton Schultz does want to be here, and he's going to stay here as well. So that's very good for our team. Devin Singletary, I'll let walk. Running backs are very replaceable in this game. Marcus Peters probably won't be superstar by the end of the season, so we'll wait on that. Shaq Mason is going to stay there as well. We're not going to bring back Robert Woods. If anything, we're going to put more money into Mike Evans, who is much better than Robert Woods. So let's sim to the end of the season, and I'll meet you there. So in season number 2, it looks like we ended off 12-5, which is much better than how it started off. So we're going to upgrade these players, and then we're going to sim this game against the Bills and see if we can make it to the divisional round for the first time in Sir Bigum's career with the Texans. And it looks like we do. We beat them 37-35, which is a very, very narrow win. But let's see if we can beat the Jets to make it to the AFC Conference Championship, which would be a huge upgrade from what happened last time. And we do. We narrowly sneak out of that one as well. Could this be a Cinderella run from a team that doesn't seem that good? We're going against the Kansas City Chiefs, who's really good in simulation, and we lost 34-7. Oh my gosh. We got completely like tossed around by the Chiefs. So I'm going to sim to player re-signings, and I'll see you there. So for re-signing players, I was wrong. Marcus Peters went up to Superstar X Factor, so I'm going to give him another 1-year deal and see if he stays, and he does. But other than that, all these other guys that I'm seeing here just aren't really going to stay, and neither should they. There's not really any like room for them on the team, especially with the fact that new players are going to be coming in, and I'm going to be, in free agency with a lot of people. So I'm not going to re-sign any of them right now. None of them really want to be here, so we're going to move to free agency, and I'm going to see what we can upgrade. Obviously, I know we can upgrade left outside linebacker, strong safety, right tackle. All of those are positions of need for us right now. But we're going to see what's here and what we can use, because who knows, I may have big upgrades. And already, Christian Darrisaw is going to be a massive upgrade for right tackle if we can land him. And right there, we're leading on him. And Rashawn Gary is another guy who I'll go very player-friendly for. He's a hell of an edge rusher, so he will be very good to have. Keenan Allen, Ramondre Stevenson is here. DJ Reed, he's a very solid corner, so I'm going to give him a 2-year deal. I know he doesn't have superstar, but for the time being, his overall is enough. And Justin Reed, why don't we bring him back? He was on the Texans, right? I'm pretty sure he was. I could be remembering wrong, but we're going to give him a contract because we do need a safety. JC Horn is here as well, who I used a lot in my Panthers rebuild. But I think that's all that I'm going to have right now. And let's see who we signed. We signed Rashawn Gary and DJ Reed, which means that Christian Darrisaw did not want to play for us. There's a right tackle there, left tackle. It's not looking good. I should have put a little bit more thought into that before I just sent it through. But let's see. Rob Havenstein, right tackle. Perfect. That's exactly what we need. He basically just fills the position. Nothing crazy there. So we're going to send that through. Did we sign him? All right, we signed all 4 of the guys that we needed to and wanted to sign. So that basically almost brings our team up to a 90 overall, and we can fill some of these spots in the draft. So I'll meet you guys at the draft. So in the draft, we have pick 29. We're just going to sim to my pick. I have a guy in mind. It said he's supposed to be going second or third, I think it said. If I remember correctly. Could be wrong, but he's still here. It was first to second, so I'm glad he's still here. But Nolan Norwood, he looked really good. I wrote it down on my sheet, and yeah, he looked like a stud, so I'm not surprised by hidden dev. But I've seen terrible guys with hidden dev, so we will see if he's actually good. And for this next guy, I do want to trade up. So I'm going to trade up into the beginning of the second. So within the first 10 picks in the second round. I think it's worth it. I'll do my second and third to see if I can get up closer. Pick 34 would be great if I could get it, and I do. So this guy, his name is Peighton. He's a left outside linebacker. I think he'll fit right into what we need. And I'm hoping he can be that guy to fill the role where Henry To'oTo'o is. I did not favorite him again because I write stuff down and I don't favorite it. And it doesn't look like he's here. Because it wasn't Brandon Holiday. It was Brandon Peighton. Was he a right outside linebacker and I just got it wrong? No, it doesn't look like it. It looks like he's not here, so I traded up for nothing. He was a second to third round pick, but I guess I'll go with him unless if I wrote it down wrong. I don't think I did, because that doesn't seem like the guy that I wanted. But we're just going to sim to the end of the draft, and I'll show you what the team looks like when I'm done. So I might be an idiot because I was trying to get a left outside linebacker and I completely forgot I got Rashawn Gary in the draft. So our linebacking core is really good. Our safeties are very solid. Our corners do need some work, but our edge rush is amazing. And then on offense, Dalton Schultz is now a X factor, and everything else is kind of just falling into place. So I'm going to sim to the midseason mark, and I'll see you guys there. At the midseason point of year number 3, the Houston Texans are 5-2, and they've been decent this year. So we're going to sim to the end of this season and see if they are able to make the playoffs or not. At the end of the season, the Texans go 11-6 and do make the playoffs. So we're going to sim here and see if we're able to beat the Raiders to make it to the divisional round for the second time in Sir Bigham's career. With the Texans, obviously. And we do 42-24. And we're going against the 13-4 Jaguars. So let's sim again and see if we can beat them and make it for the AFC Championship. And we do 41-24. Again, I think that's the same score as the other one. So let's sim and see if we make it against the Ravens. And we do 31-27. So we're going again in the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers. So let's hop in here and see if we can win. So we're going to sim the rest of the game and see if the Texans can win. They get on the board early with 3. The Tampa Bay Bucks answer back with 3. They go up by 7. They go up by 10. The Bucks answer with 3 again. The Texans have the ball. I don't even know where that happened, but they're up 20-13. The Bucks have the ball driving down the field in the fourth quarter and tie it up. It's going to OT, and it looks like the Texans won it in overtime in the Super Bowl. So thank you guys for watching this rebuild of the Houston Texans. Let me know down in the comments below who you want me to do next. And also, make sure to like and subscribe for more football content.